Welcome to Special Topics in Media, a podcast devoted to examining popular culture one artifact at a time. I'm Dr. Garrett Castleberry, professor of media production and communication at Mid America Christian University. Well, we are here excited about a bit of a breakout mini series that we're putting together, some special programming for the month of April. April is, in fact, well, it's a month that holds many qualities. There are many events that go on, but one event that you may not be familiar with that we can relate to the world of media and media studies is VinylThon. VinylThon is an annual tradition, one that I'm less familiar with, but eager to learn more about. And so I've invited back a one-time guest, I believe, of Special Topics in Media. We're excited to bring him back in and get into his wheelhouse. We kind of got this we'll get kind of the steering wheel on the left side, right side here thing going on in terms of allowing him to drive some of the content of this conversation. But I would like to formally welcome in Dr. Tim Craig. Tim Craig serves as professor of communication and chair of the communication arts department at Warner University. And he has education from Warner University as well as University of South Florida and doctorate of philosophy from Regent University and serves on the board of directors. Here we go. Key tie-in of the College Radio Foundation. That's what I'm talking about. He's an all-around pop culture aficionado, but music is definitely one of those specialty areas. Uh, Tim, how are you doing today, sir?
Oh, it's great. It's Friday afternoon. What could be better, really, to be honest with you? It's not so late that it's going to be traffic on the way home, but it's just late enough to where I'm not in class.
Friday always brings great energy and unfortunately that hopefully that will lend itself to our conversation, kind of loosen things up here. Well, I invite you on for really just a laid back conversation of sorts. We're getting into the thick of, maybe we could call it Vinylthon season. And so Vinylthon is something you're much closely involved in, and
Mhm.
I'm less involved in, but I have some marginal exposure to it. And so before we get into some nitty gritty and maybe just explore the purpose of the tie-in that we're doing to help promote VinylThon, if you will, give us a little bit about your background and how you first got connected with this concept.
Well, I first met, there's a guy named Rob Quick. Rob Quick is the founder of the College Radio Foundation. He is also the founder of College Radio Day, which is an event that's gone on for 15 years now, and it has grown to include, I believe, is 700 or to 1,000 student-run or college radio stations around the world. So that's a global event. It
Wow.
exists on the calendar of the day or the thing of the day calendar. There's a special day for just college radio day, and that's the event that he came up with for the fall, and so that's usually the first Friday of October, somewhere around there. It's
Okay. Oh,
College
nice.
Radio Day, where college radio stations just that's their time to show themselves off to campus. Because a lot of times, I think it was born out of there was an era in the early 2000s to 2010 or so where a lot of colleges were finding themselves selling off their radio licenses because, finances are as they are, or they were turning them over to NPR. They're becoming NPR programming and those kind of things, and so we found ourselves in a state where the actual college radio in the traditional sense, the genre, the unique genre that is college radio, that is the tastemaker of the campus or the community that it's around, that it is the discoverer of the music, it is the ones that is championing diverse styles. You can have, banjos 1 minute and Moog synthesizers right the next, back to back. And that's what we wanted to celebrate. And so College Radio Day is a day where college radio stations have that opportunity to show themselves off to the campus. So we want them to get out and be loud. Well, we did that. Rob did that, and I became involved during that time. And then he figured that we needed something in the spring. And this is right around when vinyl was starting to really make a name for itself in the news, how it was coming back and outselling CDs, outselling all other forms of media. And so we tied it with the same Saturday that is Record Store Day. There is an
Okay.
event we call VinylThon. And all that is where college radio stations, any college radio station can do it. They pledge to play at least 1 hour of programming that is nothing but vinyl instead of using CDs or instead of using whatever streaming service that they normally use, that they have the physical act of playing a record for at least 1 hour. If they go 24 hours, they earn what is known as the Golden Slip Mat Award. And it is an actual slip mat that is made by this company called Glowtronics. And it's different every year, and they designed a new one for us every year, and we're very happy about that. And then last year, or this may be the third year, that we just decided to expand it for to 48 hours. So it's Saturday and Sunday, and if you go for 48 hours, you win, I guess. But it's just a lot of fun. And so that's really how VinylThon came about. And we're celebrating our 10th year this year. And we're trying to do a few things, keep it growing. It's over 200 to 300, I think, stations, mainly around the country. But we do have stuff, we have stations in Ireland, in England, Italy, I believe, that also participate in this event.
You mentioned the college radio day and having served on the College Radio Foundation. Is that where perhaps a sense of organized networking takes place to fuel the word of mouth for this event? Or how does this event kind of capture grassroots attention?
Well, it's grassroots just in its formation. We're
Okay.
all a
Music lovers
We're all we
unite.
do it because we love it. We don't every dollar that comes in usually goes we try to give out station grants or student scholarships. And we call them next step scholarships, I believe we're calling them now. And so we just do it so it's very grassroots. So it's a volunteer run organization just out in it is an official 501(c)(3) out of New Jersey. So
Oh, excellent.
if you go to collegeradio.org, it tells you all about it. And we just organize those events. We go to conferences and try to promote the events and just try to support college students who are discovering, their voice and discovering what it means to, you know, have fun on the air.
uh, we certainly recognize coming out of New Jersey, it has to be fully legitimized then, and there wouldn't be any cause for questions. But I think now in your neck of the woods, you're on the East Coast,
Yeah.
and not only we've got the really the whole coast kind of lighting up. The energy district from satellite space. I was just in a planetarium looking at projections of that the other day, so it's on my mind. But a lot of traffic, a lot of commuting, a lot of hustle and bustle.
Mhm.
Radio still has a foothold. And what is it? Sometimes people, maybe it's flyover states, or maybe it's just newer generations, right? Of which we're of course seeing in the classroom today. The younger generations are often disconnecting with radio or what they perceive as radio. So much media consumption has become individualized
Right.
through digital platforms. How how do what are some of the ways in which radio is maintaining relevance in over in that neck of the woods?
Well, radio still has a pretty big reach. I mean,
Mhm.
traditional over-the-air radio. I think the latest stats. I can't. As an academic, it shames me to say I cannot put this in APA format. But um, I think that at least 80% of the population, I believe the number is higher, but at least 80% of the population is still interacts with radio at least every day. Now, this could be you walking into Starbucks and they have the local radio station playing, all right? Or it could be you go to Circle K and get your Polar Pop and you still have you have the radio station playing. And so you may not think, well, that's not much, that doesn't really count, but it still does because you're still listening to it and the information you receive from that, whether it's a song, whether it's a news bit or whatever you take throughout the day. Um, Radio is also a multi-billion dollar business in the commercial range. And now again, as the College Radio Foundation, that's a little bit outside where we were, although we
Sure.
are training the next level professionals. But it's a multi-billion dollar business, so it's still strong. And again, most of not well, I won't say most, but a lot of the podcasts that people tout and would say that is replacing radio, they're just radio shows that are on demand. It's
Right.
similar
Yes.
to, yeah, it's similar to just uh, is is the content on Netflix still considered television?
Sure.
And that's so it's something
Hmm.
again. So I think
Hmm.
we're in a this debate that we have between, I know you have I don't want to listen to the radio. I want to have a podcast. I hear that all the time. And you think, well, it's not as far apart as it is. I think that what we are trying to wrestle with is what is going to be the vocabulary that we develop that names this thing. All right. All media evolves. All right. And so radio is in an evolutionary phase, and we don't quite know what we're going to call it on the other end, but the same skills, probably the same outcomes, maybe not necessarily the same means, but all of those things are going to still be around. And
I
so,
definitely think we're in agreement there that the one thing people will not cease to do is communicate, and they're
right,
looking for mediums and means of communicating, and they're charged by the ways updated technologies can connect us, but also spread those messages.
right. Yeah. So it's still around. So that's my spiel.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the importance of language, and this key term we keep centering in conversation is VinylThon. This event. What, in terms of you explained its origin a little bit, kind of talked about the background of how it came about. That you're recognizing the 10th anniversary of it, and so I wanted to explore it a little bit. How has VinylThon evolved during your years of engagement with it? Are you seeing changes? Is there clear continuity in what you're attempting to achieve?
Well, I think there's a continuity in what we want to achieve, but I mean, we're really, as an organization, all we do is we just say, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is the day. And everybody decides what to do on their own. And so college radio stations around the country get to decide how they want to do it, whether it's in the studio or whether they put the studio out to a quad, or like we do at Warner, I try to team up students with staff and faculty,
Hmm.
and work in the studio and develop a show together, and they get to see each other in different contexts. And so for us, it's a celebration of our campus, and it's a celebration of working together and getting to know each other. I know that you work at a similar school where it's small and small.
Hmm. Hmm.
Compared to a lot of state schools. And so that relational between faculty and student and staff and each other, it's a little bit, could be a little bit different. And so those relational things we try to focus on. So we really try to make it. open to anybody. But some of the evolutionary things that have happened over the past 10 years, we have actually opened it up to community radio stations. So now community radio stations that aren't necessarily tied to a college, but there's those private independent radio stations. They can participate as well. And we even have an avenue for commercial stations if they want to do it. The key to that is we charge the commercial stations to participate because, as the foundation, we are trying to train the next generation of people who are going to work in commercial radios. And so we think that they should uh, be a part of that, be a part of that. And so those are some of the changes that have happened structurally, but usually it's just people playing records.
You do a great job, though, of identifying how they can function as not simply thinking about traditional learning tools in the classroom, but collaborative tools, right? That part of its evolution is the innovation in how you approach collaboration. You mentioned students teaming up with staff or faculty to produce content or just to work toward the execution of creative projects. And we've been working for some time to get ready, get the pieces in place to launch. What's tentatively titled "MacU Matters" as a campus focused podcast, and the students have been developing content, and we're just finding the right way to kind of curate it because we're teaching them to edit and plot for and prepare and maybe adjust and alter what we could compare to maybe like rough draft papers. How do you take a early idea that is still finding its voice, and then how do you walk it through stages to get it to be quote unquote publishable
Right.
in that sense, and not just in a journalistic sense. You referenced earlier, we face even higher scrutiny in the academy for needing to adhere to a little bit more rigorous standards in terms of our written content and what we work through to put that out. Well, that might be a nice tie-in to remind the audience here that in addition to the foundation or the movement or the event days that is VinylThon, you have a companion publication that comes out. It's the VinylThon zine,
Yeah.
which is in the history of small publications that folks may not realize that even that kind of verbiage carries a fun cult status to it, right? The zines are always known as like the underground publications that were real often not only shared amidst the fan fever community, but they even took on production roles in that. Well, so VinylThon is not only a collective radio listening experience. You have this annual publication. And in fact, you've served as in an editorial capacity on this publication. Can you talk to us about how you work to synchronize themes between these two distinct mass media forms?
Well, yeah, we started it. This year is the seventh zine. So 7 years ago, I was just talking to Rob. I was like, you know what? That's when I was just kicking around a few ideas, and zines were part of that. And I said, let's just see if we can produce a low-key zine, just something quick and easy. It doesn't have to be long, and let's see what happens. And so we put the call out, and so um, radio stations and students were able to, like, if they had interviewed somebody, all right, and then they could just send us a transcript of that, and we would try to do that. And that's how it really started. And I really try to make it focused on, we just like to take in content, right? A very weird, different, I try not to say no to any idea because you never know. And plus it's fun that way. Um and I want students to be involved. I want people who like to draw and people who like to take pictures and those kind of things where they can have an outlet. And particularly for students, you have an outlet in what is ostensibly, well, I mispronounced that, but ostensibly, or however you're going to do it, a national magazine
Hmm.
tied to a foundation. So there is some legitimacy to getting things published for students. and even, for faculty or staff or people who want to do to be a part of that. So I usually put out the call sometime. I start thinking about a theme, in late in the year, and then I try to have it done in time for we have the International Broadcasting Service, or the IBS conference, which is a student media conference in New York, and it's usually in late February, early March. And so that's usually my window to try and do it. Now, sometimes I make the mark, and sometimes I don't make the mark, but it all comes out, and it's just interesting to see what happens.
In some ways, I'm hearing that you have essentially cultivated a role as a zine jockey
Yeah, I am
in
the zine
terms
jockey.
of the acceptance rate versus the creative juices that it would take to, to work the turntables as an editor to see how ideas can flow together in the various zines. I can appreciate that, and a very interesting mention of this the student media conference. I'll have to investigate that further. I'd love to know the parameters of what it includes versus excludes. What where its preferences lie. That sounds like a fantastic opportunity. And one of the things we try to push to students, especially, is that the necessity of learning
Hmm.
what networks can best suit the areas that you're interested in, that you want to learn how to have more of an active role in those to help further career, really to just figure out what doors open,
Right,
where the opportunities lie in that process. The modern labor career, it requires a more active participation. These opportunities don't tend to just fall into your lap simply because you earned that parchment, right?
right.
That you received. Well, did you grow up reading music journalism or collecting fanzines? Or what is there a background connection to that format?
Well, I have a journalism background. So
Hmm.
I graduated from college. I wrote for the student newspaper in college. I wrote for newspapers for about 6 years after I got out. And I did some freelance work with a couple of small, they would be considered zines, just some record reviews. I did concert reviews.
Hmm.
They would
Hmm.
send me CDs and tapes, and I would review those. And it was fun. It's fun. I got to go to music festivals, and I would take pictures and those kind of things. So I've always had an interest, a side interest in music journalism, music, and I love music. I love the finding of it, and I love the expression of it. And so it's always been in the background, and so this just made sense when I was thinking I want a creative outlet. I'm at the time in my career that maybe I could afford a creative outlet, and so this zine helps scratch that itch.
That's excellent. And to kind of break form here, probably appropriate to note, any kind of publication is a collaborative process. How did you locate maybe the members of the tribe, so to speak, that help to put into to help bring VinylThon to life, or the VinylThon zine rather?
Well, as part of being on the board, and when we're planning the VinylThon, we usually have weekly meetings or bi-weekly meetings, and it's usually of people who are of our ilk. So they're either professors, or they are general managers of college radio stations, or they are involved in the academy in one way or another. And I just said, hey, if you got any students, or if you want to, why don't you just write me 500 words on the Beatles? Why don't you write me a 500 words on, give me a list of, the five most important Bob Dylan tracks according to you. And again,
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
according to you. I try to make it to where, just to have some fun with it. And so I tell them, um, the overall theme. I tell them the overall theme, whether it be live music, or I think one year was soundtracks, and they say anything that can loosely fall under that umbrella, just give me something. And
That's
then,
interesting. Oh, go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
go, well, I was just gonna say, and then I also tell the people the general managers that run the radio station, anybody you interview, just get me the audio, and we can turn that into an article.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
so, whether they do that or not, and sometimes I go out and I search for somebody that if I'm interested in wanting to talk to them, I'll do that or you know, those kind of things.
We're moving into this era currently where there is a lot of discussion, some heated discussion, in fact, about the role of journalism in the world. And there are, we'll say, there are tensions regarding the nature of highly subjective versus traditionally objective journalism. So it's
Mhm.
interesting to hear you describe it in those ways because even though for many of us, and I had some training as a journalist as well in school, and some of those similar types of practicing in college, but then outside of it as well. We tend to privilege the more sacred traditional positions, but in fact, a lot of the best journalism about areas in the arts
Mhm.
has to do with curating a strong voice as a subjective critic, right?
Right.
As a subjective participant in the consumption of that popular media.
Yeah, if Almost Famous taught us anything, it's that Lester Bangs is somebody you should listen to, even though you may not agree with him. Yeah.
Right. Well, this year's VinylThon theme should make sense to us then. This year's theme is 10. And as you said, while the zine is only about 7 years old, the movement is 10 itself. So what is there anything you or the board was looking for in capturing the essence of 10 for this year's zine, or how did you approach the process any differently?
I don't think I did, but I think it's also 10 is a good time to reflect. So in the
Absolutely.
zine we have we're just having a section where I try to, the logo and how that's changed over the years, and like some of the things that were popular during those times. And so we have a special, like, kind of a retrospective few pages that looks back at some of the historical pictures as we move forward with it. And w- that's the main thing that's going to be related to 10. Rob is going to write has written something special for it, and those kind of things. And then after that, we got just interviews and those kind of things. So sometimes the theme is kind of like more rather than literal, it's more speculative or spiritual, I guess.
Sure.
In that we
Given that this publication comes out of more of a nonprofit tradition, it's more foundation approached. Does that alleviate pressures concerning cultivating a readership, cultivating say a consumer audience? It is the kind of publication you can pre-order. You can there's a is available in a limited supply, or does it have more freedoms due to that tertiary status?
Hmm. I think, I mean, well, the foundation gives me a wide berth, and I try to give everybody a wide berth. We order just a few, usually 100 or less, and when they're gone, they're gone. And but sometimes some issues stick around longer than others.
Sure.
But each one of them is just a snapshot of the year. And so one thing that I've done with the zine is I have the news and notes section at the beginning. And so some of the main conferences that students go to and they get awards, I'll just list the award winners. And so it's another way of validating the student experience when they can
Awesome. Yeah.
see this magazine and, hey, there's my name, and those kind of things. And so it really is trying to celebrate what college radio is all about.
Yeah, I'm interested in this idea of the synchronicity or the crossover effect between it functioning as a movement piece, as something that has now established its regularity versus the kind of thing that through connection you can introduce in educational settings.
Hmm.
How are you able to successfully integrate VinylThon into your teaching curriculum, or do you approach it more as, say, what we call a service project for students? Right? Is it kind of
Yeah.
credit based, or is there space for both?
Well, to be honest with you, so this year I'm teaching a social media writing and production. That's what we call it, social media writing and production class, which is one of those names that gives you a wide umbrella,
Oh
as
yeah,
you
we've got one of those like that too.
know. And so this year, the campaign that they're running is the lead up to VinylThon and promoting Radio Warner and VinylThon. And so we're right in the middle of that campaign. So the beginning of the semester, we have the textbook. We go through the textbook. We talk about planning. We talk about what a campaign's all about how to make it. You got to make it reach is an intended audience, meaning you have to know what you're doing, who you're sending those things to, and you have to find a way to make it to where you can review and see how you're doing along the way and be flexible. And those can all the things, and I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so
Mhm.
it's interesting. So now we're in the middle of the campaign, which is all about the doing. And so like the past couple weeks, class has been okay. It's more like a team meeting. All right, production.
Yeah,
Where are
yeah.
we? Promotions. Where are we? Participation group. How much of the time has been filled? How can we continue to meet our goals? Let's review what we said at the beginning. We want to post so many times a day. We want to make sure we get the message to this person in the administration to see if they're interested and see if they can. We're trying to do those kind of things. So yeah, and it's the same way I'm teaching a radio production class in the fall, and you know what happens in the fall? College Radio Day. And so, but that sounds like I'm being selfish with free labor, but if you think about all of those soft skills that come with creating a campaign and executing a campaign and interacting and promotion are the skills that employers look for in our students. And so, even a radio show requires a lot of planning and in order to do it well, it requires practice and it requires a lot of thought. And so those skills translate to anything. So I have students say, I don't think I want to be on the air. I said, well, this has nothing to do with you're not going to do this for the rest of your life. But some of these things that you are doing, you'll be doing the rest of your life, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like as a hybrid faculty and administrator, I can see without necessarily articulating where projects like these are aligning with what I would envision are some of your learning outcomes. Which for those of us that in that assessment world, it's important to build those clear and firm bridges, and it's exciting to see that work at play out in the world in different ways. Well, how can new listeners plug into the Vinylthon experience this April? How do people get access if they're not near one of the radio stations participating?
Well, I was looking up Oklahoma. I think there are 5 or 6 stations. Let me get to my text with our director she sent me. Um, so I don't know anything about MacU as far as I exactly where it is. Langston University, is that close?
We play them in some of our sports. Yeah.
All right, the University of Oklahoma, University of Central Oklahoma, and Rogers State University are the 4 stations that participate in most of our events, in both of our events. And so if they have a streaming station, you could probably get that if you're out of the air era. For us at Radio Warner, just for a shameless plug, we are on the TuneIn app, and we will be. I kick it off at midnight to 3 a.m. on April 12th. That's one way that you could do it. Um, and I believe there will be some links and those kind of things. You can if you follow VinylThon on Instagram, All right, that'll open up some content for you. We usually do an hour documentary every year, an audio documentary, because sometimes you might need to play something and go to the restroom. So we have an hour-long documentary, and we do sweepers, and we do shout outs and all of those things. And we have that available on the College Radio Day, I believe. What's that? Um, shoot. What's that website? The one, SoundCloud. So there's content that we provide for every radio station that wants it. Uh, um, we provide content for that. So that, that's something you can, and we keep it up. So you can actually, if you have a SoundCloud account right now, just you can type in and search up VinylThon SoundCloud or College Radio Day SoundCloud, and you can get some of those assets and listen through it.
I remember using SoundCloud quite a bit in graduate school a long time ago, but when I was learning how to locate some recordings of, say like miscellaneous contemporary philosophers, theorists, people that you were only accustomed to reading in journals or seeing it, and then it was one of those, they were out there experimenting with the medium, trying to figure out platforms that could fit certain services. Well, if I'm playing devil's advocate here, I might ask. We're at an institute that privileges at times more in well, primarily the online college as opposed to the traditional classroom. The value of asynchronous learning opportunities and that understanding of creating multimodal experiences where folks can bend time to meet their learning track and needs. But along those lines, do people have to log in, whether it's tune in or SoundCloud? Do they have to listen live to get it, or is it archived or delayed in any way?
If you want to, like, for VinylThon, you would probably have to listen on the day of. I don't think that
Sure.
people would tune in, would post the archives. But again, it depends on the college radio station that's doing it and
Hmm. Hmm.
how they want to tackle it. So you may be able to find some of those things. I encourage, we have a way of recording our shows at Radio Warner, and then the students, if they have a thumb drive, they could just snatch their hour off the if they record it, and what they do with it after that, as long as it's not breaking the law. I mean, they're welcome to it. Um, so as far as, but no, no. I
Remind
don't think.
us, we're right on the eve of this thing essentially. We're kind of winding down. This conversation will air at a later date, but we're kind of winding down the month of March. April's on the horizon. Remind us one more time. When is the Vinylthon weekend as we're talking about the prescience of that live programming experience?
Well, it takes place on the Saturday of Record Store Day. That's when it opens. So midnight on Saturday, April 12th, and then through Sunday, April 13th. And it ends at midnight, Monday the 14th. Well, I guess
Yes.
11:59 and 59 seconds.
All right. This sounds like students need to catch up on their sleeping during their work week, possibly even during classroom time, and then be able to just binge experience the vinyl fawn movement online. It sounds like homework to me. Tim, appreciate you coming on, talking about this, exploring the topic, giving us a rich understanding of its background, its origin, and kind of helping us connect to the continuous value of radio, something that I think gets beat up. Some of these mediums are really taking hits out in the public discourse, and it's great to hear from folks that can help explain the continuous value and the validity of relevance that these mediums of communication express.
Right, right. I mean, everybody loves to discover a new band and tell all their friends about it. And that's generally what college radio does. It just that the megaphone is a little bit louder.
Well, how can folks get in touch with you for more information, either about VinylThon, VinylThon 10, the zine, or perhaps just inquiries about even your campus, even Warner University?
Well, they can email me. It's the most difficult emailing code to do. You get Tim and then dot Craig at warner.edu. I'm also, I guess the most active I am on social media would be Instagram, and that handle is Media Mugshot, all one word. If you've come across a site that it's basically posting a record a day, that's me. And not you can message me. I think that I don't have any restrictions on that or whatever. I think it's Prof Tim on Twitter X Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days. So
Well, very good, very good. I appreciate you coming on, taking some time out of the schedule, giving our listeners, listener base, which is increasingly growing. We're hitting more and more continents and little speckles every day. So, but it is great to see you. Great to get in touch, and excited to pick up VinylThon zine, and maybe even or put some. Maybe I got to put some reminders in my calendar to check out that VinylThon thing. And also, I've definitely put I am foot traffic on all those universities you've listed here. So I should work to connect with some of these other schools in our state. Just as we're excited to be able to connect from time to time, and
yeah,
share what's going on with you all.
that's really what it's all about is connecting. I mean, we have community colleges that are close by that we try to connect with. And yeah, that's it's always good to well, it's always good to see you, but it's always good to connect with people who are like-minded, as you know. And I appreciate the wardrobe,
That's right. That's right. We have got the I'm
the
sporting. This
official.
is this is my first purchase, by the way. I finally went, I didn't felt I've done enough pirating, right? Enough piracy in my life. Not really, but maybe. It was time to provide some fuller support. So I've got the Vinyl Thon 10, the official shirt on
The official
today.
shirt. Yep. And
Yes.
I really appreciate Garrett. You always contribute very thoughtful things to the zine. You've done that for the past 3 years. Is that right?
Yeah, I completed a third one this year, so I've appreciated the sporting challenge. You mentioned that creative process before, and I think one of the rewards is just simply deciding, do I have an end to this theme in terms of a conversation to propose? And if I didn't, I wouldn't. I don't think I would try to force something, but I like, as a fellow creative, I like the challenge of saying what is an interesting seeming
Yeah.
conversation that could be put to written form, and hopefully others get something out of it as well. At least that's the goal.
That's the goal. Yeah. And the photography this year was spot on. So I appreciate it.
Well, and that's a great mention as well, as we hadn't just been able to provide some of that traditional writing style journalism, but that it's the zine format, not unlike the way the radio format works in multimedia ways, but the zine formats created space for photographers, graphic designers to be able to find their voice too. And those are just as important of
Yep.
portfolios and resumes we're looking to help students and other collaborators build up. So, all around excellent project there. Thank you, Tim Craig, for joining us, for having this conversation. Again, VinylThon, an annual celebration of vinyl music radio each April. And be on the listen for that. We're grateful for his presence here. And this is kicking off our specialty programming to coincide with VinylThon in the month of April here on Special Topics in Media.